Hey y'all, I'm doing a little bit of I guess you could say checking on all my preps. I've gone back to keeping my 5-gallon cans full. I found a place that sells non-ethanol gas, so the 5-gallon cans I'm putting 3 ounces of stable in, and they're good for a year as long as I put the non-ethanol gas in. This is all ethanol gas, and this is the stuff that I cycle through my truck regularly. And what I'm doing today is emptying my water storage tanks and refilling them. This is a 200-gallon tank here, and if y'all recall, I bought it's 300 or 325, and it's over there, and I've got a hose coming out of there. I'm draining that one too, but this one's empty, and I do it once a year. I actually kind of forgot about draining the water and refilling it until I read somebody else doing that on the survivalistblog.net that I frequent. So what I'm going to do now is, I forget how much bleach to put in here, and I got to sit down and do a little research on that, because it made it a whole year with no kind of fungus or mold or nothing in there. It's still pretty clean looking in there. No green algae, nothing. So I'm going to sit down, drink me a soda pop, and do a little reading on how much bleach I would need for 200 gallons. Okay, according to all the instructions, it's about 2.5 ounces for 200 gallons. And to me, that's like 4 glugs. That's about what I put in last time. The thing is, I only do this once a year. I have that water there, and occasionally I will pull the lid off and stick my head in there and take a deep whiff of it. And, you know, I still smell chlorine, and that's good. If you smell chlorine, it's still safe to drink. So, I'm going to get my garden hose out there and dump about 4 glugs of this in there, and we'll be back to it in a year. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me tell you about chlorine bleach. For years and years and years, I have stored chlorine bleach. And I did keep it in the house. But I also have a couple of hundred lighters, Bic lighters. And I noticed that the metal around the end of the Bic lighters all started to rust. And it just perplexed me as to why. I couldn't figure out why. The house is dry. It's always, you know, air conditioned or heated in the winter. So anyway, I had the chlorine bleach stored like right next to the Bic lighters. And even though it was in what I thought was a sealed container, it wasn't sealed tight enough. So I put it out here. And over the course of a couple of years, it absorbed moisture, and people don't realize just how dangerous storing pool chlorine is. You got to be very careful how you store it, how you use it, how you handle it. It's a volatile chemical. Anyway, I'm not going to store it anymore. I have my well, and it's a shallow well, but I have drank water out of that several times, and I'm still kicking. So I'm just not going to store that completely. You know, if something happens and we have a little notice, then I'll go get some chlorine bleach. But I'm just not going to keep it on hand anymore, because it ruins everything in its vicinity, and there's just no safe way to store it that I have found. So here we go. I'm filling this up. Between this and the one I have in my other shed and what I have in my house, I have about 700 gallons of drinkable purified water. And I got 2 more 5-gallon cans to get. I'm going to fill them up today. And I'll have about 75 gallons of stored gas, about 350 pounds of propane. This isn't all of it. I've got some somewhere else. I don't know how. Me and a friend of mine were talking about this the other day, and you know, a lot of the prepping channels have gotten away from prepping, or don't use that word anymore, because it's a buzzword for you know, what else goes along with it, thanks to doomsday preppers, and that's tinfoil hats and conspiracy theorists and all that. But I still have a real deep concern for the direction our country has taken, and I feel like we are on the precipice of some kind of a drastic change. I'm doing my best to go through everything I have, everything I've saved and collected and stored, and just see if there's any gaps, see if I've forgotten anything. I feel a sense of urgency that I've never felt before. And you know, I put my outdoor kitchen together yesterday, and it's little things like that. I'm just trying to cover some bases. I have deficiencies around my fence, around the immediate front of my yard. I've raised up 2 feet, and I have way over yonder, I have some fence that's fallen down, and I need to replace all that fence. I own the property across the street, but it's all fenced in, but I would like to sell it and use that money to replace all the rest of my fence. I have some land behind me that I have for sale, and I think there's a lady who lives at the other end of that property that wants to buy it, and if I sell that, I'm going to use that money to replace all my fence, and it's going to be 6 foot high with barbed wire. Yeah, I'm going to be the crazy guy that has a 6 foot fence around his yard, but I don't care. Alrighty, that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if any of you are experiencing the sense of urgency that I am experiencing, and I'm not the only one. I've talked to several people on the phone who have channels, and they're kind of feeling the same way I am. Alright, thanks for watching. Hey, in that last clip, I kept using the word chlorine bleach, and this is not what I'm talking about storing. I mean, I do have some of this just for immediate use, but this bleach loses its strength after 6 months. It starts losing the strength of its sodium hypochlorite, which is the active ingredient that purifies water. So you don't want to store a whole bunch of that because, you know, after 6 months, it's very, very weak. What I meant was pool chlorine. I stored bunches and bunches of pool chlorine, and I'm not going to do that anymore. This is what, 325, 330, 340. So let's see, that's 250, that's 300. So probably 330, 325. So between these two tanks, that's about 550 gallons, maybe 540. Anyway, pool chlorine is what I was talking about. If you do store it, don't get it with a mildewcide or an algicide. Just get straight pool chlorine. And find your own instructions on how to mix it to purify water. But like I said, I'm not going to keep that in. I'm not going to store that anymore unless you know, there's some you know, advance notice. I guess this is the last thing that I want to say. I encourage you to do this. Think about this. If you were to wake up tomorrow and you could not ever go to a store again, what would you look back and wish you had gotten more of, stored more of, done more of, and do that now? All right, this time I mean it. Peace, love, and bacon.
Because of the way the Muslims are, and the way that they believe that us as being called infidels, that they must cleanse the earth of us, it makes more sense that this one world church system is being pressured or pushed to say, well, now if we get this done.
Good. Getting ready to get her bark on too.
Yeah.
I know there's horses up here. There's cows. Yeah. kitchen. And
Did she get it from you?
she got the face.
Yeah, she had a. I tell you what, if people say dogs don't smile, that was a smile on her face.
Was it funny?
Yeah.
Lucy, was that funny?
Did you wrestle that from her, you big Rottweiler, you? Got him a squirrel treed, and she's caught a squirrel a time or two, a couple times now. Anyway, I think I got another batch of eggs up here. Let's see. Yeah, by golly. And you know what? That's a different colored egg. So that's a different kind of bird using that barn swallow nest. And I have no idea. She's not fussing. So isn't that something? Another bird come along and use that nest. That's pretty cool. Huh.